Hi everyone, welcome to week 13 of our Comp 2 class. Now that you have significant practice analyzing arguments, you'll be drafting your first attempt at arguing your position based on research. You will also need to practice in-text citations. And lastly, you will be reading and providing reviews of some of your peers' work, and they will be doing the same for you. Be sure to provide clear responses that do more than simply tell the author she is doing well. Remember to think deeply and provide constructive feedback. If you are following the calendar closely, your pre-writing is now behind you. You should have turned in your proposal, your research statement, and outline, and be headed into the writing process. Everything up to this point has been about you. But when you start writing, your paper becomes about your reader, their needs, and what you can do to meet those needs in your paper. As you begin writing your first Writing Project 3 draft, think, who will read this paper? How much or how little do they know about this topic? Should I be more or less argumentative? How much or how little will they care about the topic? And these questions should help you start your paper in a way that is readable and interesting to your audience. Begin thinking about your writing process as well. Schedule time where you can dedicate time to writing. Do you write better in short bursts or in long stretches? Do you need absolute silence or do you like a lot of background noise? Do you have a busy personal and work schedule? Are you a morning or night person? With roughly 2 weeks to go, a half a page to a full page a day will get you to the end in an organized fashion. Your first task is some readings from the field guide. We have a reading on designing text, and you may especially want to focus on the headings section. We have a chapter on using visuals and incorporating sound, and it wouldn't hurt for you to review the sections on MLA and in-text documentation. For task 2, you're going to practice in-text citations. If you've not already done so, read about in-text documentation on pages 551 through 557, then follow the instructions below. You should choose 3 sources that you have gathered for Writing Project 3, and I'd like you to write an in-text citation for each of them. For each of your in-text citations, make sure you include a signal phrase. Signal phrases are the things that come before quotes. They let you know who is saying the information. So, for instance, you might say, according to Smith, that would be a signal phrase. It tells your reader where you got your information from. It tells them where to look in your works cited page to find the bibliographic information. So you're going to include a signal phrase, a quote or a paraphrase, and a parenthetical citation. One little note that I'll add here. So in my example, in my signal phrase, I used the author's name. I said Smith. If you use the author's name in the sentence, then you don't need to include the author's name in the in-text citation. So in this example, if I said, Smith states, and then I had a quote, my in-text citation would just be parentheses and the number 24. I wouldn't need to include the word Smith. If you are using a source that doesn't have page numbers and you've included the author's name in the sentence, then you actually don't need to include the parenthetical citation. The last requirement for task 2 is I'd like you to choose information from each source that you feel might be a beneficial quotation or paraphrase for you to use in your third paper. So, in other words, don't just pick something random to provide an in-text citation for. Try to find some passage from one of your sources that you think you will actually use in your paper. For task 3, I'd like you to review a sample essay. This is an example of a family exploration essay, which is one of the 5 choices that you could have selected for Writing Project 3. Task 4 is to draft your essay. Your draft should include your thesis statement, and I'd like you to underline that in your rough draft. That'll make it easier for me to locate, and that way I can give you some feedback on it if necessary. Make sure you are also including in-text citations in a works cited page. A lot of times people wait until their final draft to put those things in, but it's better to be safe and just include them right from the beginning. Your draft should be approximately 1,200 to 1,500 words. There are lots of resources available to you through the library, through Blackboard, as well as through me. So if you have any concerns, make sure to reach out, talk to your peers, contact a librarian, shoot me an email. There are lots of people who would be willing to offer you assistance with this. For task 5, you should post to the discussion board. Your first post is due on Thursday. For your first post, I'd like you to, you're going to post your rough draft to the discussion board. Again, make sure that your thesis has been underlined, make it easier for your peers as well as me to find. And then I'd like you to answer the following prompts. What are you most concerned about with the draft? I'd like you to discuss your comfort level with in-text citations in the works cited page. And I'd like you to list 2 or 3 specific questions you would like your peers to answer for you when they review your draft. Your reply posts are due on Saturday, and for these, you are going to conduct a peer review for at least 2 of your peers' papers. I have some prompts here that I'd like you to respond to. Each prompt should be its own paragraph, and I'd like you to either number or bullet point those paragraphs. First of all, how does the author try to appeal to audience members in the introduction? Do you think it's effective? And does it match her thesis statement? Then I'd like you to paraphrase the author's thesis statement. Is it clear? Does it make sense to you? Does their thesis statement match what follows in the rest of the paper? Then check their paper for narrative language. So saying I, me, my, we, our, that should be minimized or even completely cut out of your paper unless you are doing a family exploration essay. We want you to have a pretty formal tone, a pretty formal voice in this paper, and using narrative language, using first person or second person, first person being things like I, me, my, second person being you, your, that can make your paper come across as a little informal, which we want to avoid. Identify any places where the author needs to edit for voice and offer a suggestion on how to correct the concern. And finally, look for any in-text citations that the writer has included. Do you see enough citations? Does it seem like the author has enough research to support their stance? What areas of the draft would benefit from more solid evidence? Does the author avoid oversighting sources in the paper? In other words, does it seem like the author is just regurgitating information that they found from their paper, or can you actually get a sense of their own voice? Does it seem like they also have something to say? Do their citations allow you to easily understand where the quotes, paraphrases, and summaries can be found within their sources? Does the information in each citation support the author's thesis statement? Does the in-text citation match up to the beginning of the corresponding works cited entry on the works cited page? So in other words, whatever is included in your in-text citation should be the first thing that the reader sees when they look for that source on the works cited page. So most often that is an author's last name. So if I'm using a source by Smith, I would see Smith in the in-text citation, and then if I wanted to find out more info about that source, I would flip to the works cited page and I would look for Smith. So whatever comes first on the works cited page should also be what is in your in-text citation. And then when you are done, you will submit the writing that you completed for task 2. That is all for this week. Let me know if you need anything. I'd be happy to help. Can definitely set up a time to talk with you about your paper. I'd be happy to do so. Have a good week.